First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming. As anyone that knew Diedushka would know that he was, I'll talk about it more, but hearing compliments for him was very difficult. He didn't like it. So this is going to be because the way that Hashem planned this, that worked out, it's a Shabbos, the Holy Sabbath is approaching, and therefore the law is that it's a significantly abridged version of the funeral. A lot less words are going to be said, and I think Diedushka would have wanted it exactly that way. So, just going to be a few psalms. I'm going to say one psalm now, then we're going to, just the family is going to say eulogies. We're not going to have anyone else because of the fact that it's approaching Shabbos, and then we'll have the concluding service is going to be a shortened burial. Adonai Madam Vateidehu Ben Enosh Vatechashvehu Adam Lahavel Dama Yamav Getzelover Zeram Tom Sheina Yiyu Baboker Kechatzir Yachalov Baboker Yotzitz V'cholov La'erev Yemolel V'yoshev Yemei Shenoseinu Bahem Shivim Shana V'im B'gvuros Shmonim Shana V'rahavam Amal V'aven Ki Gaz Chish V'na Ufam limnos yemeinu kein hoda v'novi levav chachma shmortam urei yishar ki acharis leish shalom ach Elohim yivdeh nafshi midei shol Ki yikacheni sela Podeh Adonai nefesh avadav V'lo yeshmu kol hachosim bo V'yashov ha'afar al ha'aretz keheya V'haruach teshuv el Elohim Asher Nesanam. I'll try to be brief because for us who knew our grandfather, we recognize how any words we'll say will not even touch with one iota the level of his goodness. There's two ways that a person can be described. One is through a form of a eulogy,
One is a form of a resume. Resume, and both are to some extent descriptions of what a person did his whole life. A resume is what you've accomplished, what you achieved, your successes. A eulogy is who you really were, what you stood for. Unfortunately for most people, for most of us, when the time comes for a eulogy, you get a resume. And the resume, the accomplishments, our sages explain to us that it's predetermined before a person is born into this world, whether he would be strong or weak, whether he would be successful in business or not, whether he would be good looking or not. They're really not our accomplishments. The one thing that's not predetermined is whether a person will be righteous or not. Different definitions of how to describe righteous. Obviously, for majority of my grandfather's life, he wasn't Torah observant, although tremendous merit that he had a circumcision when he was 76 and he became fully Orthodox in his end of his life. So how would one gauge righteous or not? So Rav Dessler explains that there's one sure barometer to see if a person is righteous or not, whether he's physical or spiritual. It's a very easy test. Is a person a giver or a taker? And a giver is not necessarily somebody who gives. There are many takers who give tremendous amounts. And not always does a real giver have what to give. I thought about how to be able to judge whether one is a giver or not. One thing that I thought of is that if someone gives because he has enough left for himself, if he gives because he already took a lot more, that's not necessarily a giver. That could be a taker. A giver is someone who gives irrespective of what he has. He gives what he has. And with yet his whole life, he spent giving his time, his effort, his energy, but most importantly, his love. And when he couldn't give any more of the energy and the time, when he was too frail, he continued to give with holding your hand, caressing it, telling you how much he loves you. And he did it in a way that he made you feel like you're a giver. Every time you would call him, he would profusely thank you and say how you made his day. He never, God forbid, complained about anything. Like as my parents were saying before we even found out, just talking about him, that if he felt okay, you ask him, how are you, Jed? Very good, very good, very good, thank God. And if you ask, how are you feeling today? He says, okay. Is it hard to breathe? Yes, hard to breathe. So okay was, if okay, that means that either he couldn't breathe or his heart or something. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that suggests how a person should relate his love for Hashem, and one of the most ultimate ways is that you make His will your will. That you're not doing things because you're commanded, but because you want to, because His will is your will. And that's how Dad viewed all of us. Our will was his will. It didn't matter if what you were doing was important in the eyes of others, or if it would have been important in his eyes if you would have asked him beforehand. If you were doing what you felt was important and it was bringing you happiness and you felt accomplished, it brought him true, tremendous happiness. He literally felt he was happy. He wasn't just giving you encouragement. He was happy because he made his will your will. When I was a little kid, I think 7 or 8, I lived with grandparents for 3 years. And I remember pretty vividly, I was sitting with him in the kitchen at their place on Площади Победы. And we were talking. And I asked him if he believes in God. This is obviously in Russia. We didn't even know this of a concept of organized religion. So he told me, he said he doesn't believe in, like the general term of there's, like a God over there, like something that you can grab onto that has a description. But he said, I believe that there is a supreme being out there that is the source and definition of truth, of kindness, of justice. Obviously, he didn't know, but it seems to me that was himself pretty clearly describing what the Derech Hashem explains are only the only ways we can really relate to Hashem, is that recognition that he's a supreme being which we can't relate to, but we just know that he's the perfection of kindness, of justice, of truth. And Dad didn't read it in a book. He didn't hear it in class. It wasn't hammered down to him by his parents. He just felt it. He had such a eye and toe for everybody, a good eye. Everybody. Every person he respected, and every person he would always say, oh, this guy is amazing, he accomplished so much. He thought that everybody was amazing except for him. Well, obviously, I'm not talking about his accomplishments because I don't think it's important, but every person he recognized whatever goodness they had, he internalized it and he appreciated it. And obviously, even more so for his family, for his close ones, he constantly showered us with love and praise and encouragement. And we always, not just myself, I know, we all grew up with such a feeling of pride of having him as our grandfather, and always feeling totally undeserving, embarrassed that we're not able to reciprocate remotely to his level. And we're all obviously gonna miss him tremendously, but when we're feeling down, we're gonna try to close our eyes and imagine him looking at us, giving us his love, encouragement, and we're gonna carry that love for us forever.
It is very hard to add after such eulogy that my son did. A few words I'd like to add. not as spiritual. And I will speak in Russian, so some other people can understand for sure. Этот маленький мальчик, который родился в Бобруйске, вот эта вот печать святости у него была видна с раннего детства. Ему было 5-6 лет, когда он мне рассказывал. И вся эта информация, что я сейчас скажу, мне приходилось вытягивать из него канатами, как говорят по-русски. То есть он терпеть не мог что-нибудь сказать хорошее про себя. А хорошего было очень много. И вот, например, такой пример, как малыш, совсем малыш, вставал затемно, чтобы начистить сапоги своему папе, который уходил в 6 утра, и чтобы папа его посадил на раму и проехал побыть ближе, почувствовать своего отца. Или во время войны, когда ему было 9 лет, он делал все, чтобы прокормить семью. Отца забрали в армию, и мать осталась с кучей детей. И он пас, скакал без седла на этих лошадках там в Узбекистане. И какую-либо кроху, которую он мог найти, он приносил. Это был чудесный человек. И, я, как я сказал, не такой spiritual, как мой сын, поэтому я бы хотел briefly только дать вам идею, что этот человек, какой это был человек, в смысле его достижений. Чем того, что, понятно, там золотая медаль, играл за сборную Бобруйска по футболу, за юношескую команду Беларуси по баскетболу, 100-метровку бежал чуть ли не с рекордом Беларуси. В общем, с отличием университет электротехнический. Но что я хотел сказать? У него была одна любовь. С его юношеских лет, когда он увидел Ирину Федоровну, все, он считал, что несмотря на все его достижения, он терпеть не мог, когда кто-нибудь что-нибудь... Это было торчур. Но он говорил: Ирочка, когда я ее увидел, я понял, что... И вот всю жизнь, Ирочка, всю жизнь, до последнего вздоха. Вот, конечно, он имел большое сердце, и поэтому в этом сердце хватало места для его дочерей, внуков, правнуков. И потом уже, когда, даже, как Илюшенька сказал, когда он был фрейл и уже ничего не мог помочь, а помогал он всегда, пока не стал полностью старенький. Он только так ручки прикладывал к сердцу и смотрел, и посылал воздушный поцелуй, и улыбался. Так он любил своих детей. Для меня дед был образцом мужчины. Его благородству и доброте не было границ. И нам всем будет его не хватать. И я все время буду думать, а вот как бы дед вот сделал или поступил, потому что стоило его спросить, ответ шел сразу. И не было «да», которое переходило в «нет» или наоборот. Ответ шел сразу и решительно. Вот так будем делать. Нам будет не хватать его, и мы... Все.
Can you hear me? Okay. As the youngest granddaughter by a lot, I had a really different experience with my grandfather than a lot of other people in my family did. But I think what really stood out to me that I thought about a lot as we were in the hospital with him this final time was when he went and how he went. And we learn in the Torah that the way that God takes someone out of this world says a lot about what they merit and how righteous they were. We know that extremely righteous people die on the Sabbath, and my grandfather died on the day that the Jews left Egypt and crossed the Red Sea. And it felt the whole time, the way that everything happened, that I could see God's hand in it, and the way that he got to go at such a holy time, in such a holy way, that he has truly left a place of pain, that he's moved on to a place where he's close with God, that God wanted him back, because he was such a special man. And he did hate compliments more than anything. If you tried to say anything nice to him, he would just shoo you away. So I'm not going to say those things, but I will say that I always looked at him as someone who I had a lot in common with. And I always saw how he, no matter how old he was, he continued to grow and strive and be a better man and a better person. That even at 76, he did a bris milah. He didn't say he was too old to become religious or to create a relationship with God. Nothing was ever too late for him. And he truly inspires me. He gives me so much hope that no matter where you start from, you can be great. And he really embodied that his whole life. And I'm so thankful that I got to know him. Thank you.
Дорогие наши родные и наши друзья, спасибо, что вы пришли проводить моего дорогого Бореньку. Я до сих пор не могу смириться. Вода, скорее. Ну все, я уже не хочу говорить ничего. Сейчас, я уже лучше. Ой. Доктора есть? Что позвонить надо, вызвать. Ой-ой-ой, что же такая молодая? Жарко очень тут.
Что ты говоришь, громко говорите.
Хорошо.
Подожди. Она пьет водичку, значит, я вижу.
Пьет? Я вижу, не вижу. Конечно, в такой жаре. Окей. Ну, видите, как жарко тут. И вот получилось, что Эльвирочке плохо. Это я до сих пор не могу поверить. Он так ушел. Мы приехали туда, в госпиталь. Просто ему ничего не болело. Мы приехали, потому что, там были проблемы. Но они сделали ему анализы, положили его сразу в интенсив, там, кер. И на завтра ему лучше было. И я теперь не понимаю даже, что он умер. Как это он умер? И быстро так, ночью. Это был такой мальчик. Я не понимаю, я просто благодарна Всевышнему, что он дал ему такую душу, дал ему такое... Этот ребенок вырос в большой еврейской бедной семье. Ему никто не мог дать никакого совета, как, что делать. Он все сам. Он уроки делал на дощечке возле кухонного стола. Мама делала там обед, а он сидел и делал уроки. Все сам. Это была такая необыкновенная душа. И я только благодарю Всевышнего. Он никогда не мог сделать никому плохо. И он очень-очень любил нас. Это такая была любовь. Он любил своих дочечек, он любил своих зятьев, он любил своих внуков и правнуков. У нас их, слава Богу, много. Он всех любил. И я даже не понимаю теперь, как мне жить без него. Мы прожили 68 лет в любви и согласии. И он был счастливый человек. Он прожил прекрасную жизнь. Прекрасную. И мы будем его помнить всегда. Всегда он будет у нас перед глазами. Спасибо, дорогие, что вы пришли.
Когда я родилась, мои родители были очень-очень молодые. Маме было 20 лет, папе было там 23. И он был... И я, сколько я помню себя, я всегда им очень гордилась. Он был такой спортсмен, он был такой... Когда я просыпалась утром в воскресенье, я слышала этот запах, он смолил лыжи. У моего папы не было сына. И поэтому я, просыпалась, он смолил лыжи, и уже все стояло, ботинки, лыжное, все приготовлено, чтобы меня взять. Он меня учил на лыжах кататься с 3 лет. Я помню, как я била этими палочками лыжи, и все это было с ним связано, все в моей жизни, какой он был. И для меня, я всегда его обожала, любила, гордилась, и он был... И я даже не знаю, для меня, я благодарна Хашему, что он дожил до такого преклонного возраста, потому что раньше он всегда нам помогал. Он помогал, и уже был достаточно старенький, продолжал помогать. И я помню, у него какой-то был бёрсдей, по-моему, ему было 70 лет. И я сказала, что я хочу, чтобы он дожил и стал старенький, чтобы... И получилось так, что действительно он стал старенький, что я могла ему помочь. И для меня это было огромное удовольствие. И видеть его в таком возрасте. Это было настолько необыкновенно. Я не могу вам передать, какая это была душа. И вот интересно, как получилось, что мы были в Иерусалиме сейчас с Мишенькой у Илюшеньки. И когда я это все увидела, Джерузалем, эти холмы, мы с Мишенькой идем, и я говорю ему, это было воскресенье, это уже когда ему стало плохо. Я говорю, ты знаешь, Миша, вот у меня пришла какая-то realization, clear, какой-то, мне понятно, когда мы приедем, и я возьму папу и маму и привезу. Мама, как? Миша, как? Он же такой слабенький. Он не... Я говорю, ты знаешь, ему 90, я привезу. Если он увидит это все, и даже если это случится, он умрет, мы похороним его в Иерусалиме. И Миша мне сказал, ты выдумщица, но я уже это все продумывала, а в это время он тут умирал. И если душа тут моего папочки, он так все сделал, это все не случайно. Чтобы это было как можно шортер, это был Йонтов, потом шаббат, чтобы не было никакой помпы, чтобы не были рестораны, чтобы как-то все как можно меньше утруждать нас. Он так любил нас, чтобы как можно меньше. Если твоя душа тут, Берл, сын Реси, то я сын Ицхака, мы тут. Мы тебя очень любим. Если ты тут, я держу твою фотографию. Когда они с мамой познакомились, они были дети. И он ее любил. И так ее любил. Я один раз его спросила. И сказал, папа, ты так маму любишь. А что лучше, когда ты сильнее любишь или когда тебя больше любят? Он так сразу ответил, ни секунды не задумался. Когда ты больше любишь, это для тебя это лучше. Вот. Так что если его душа тут, мы будем помнить всегда. Пока, папочка мой.
Если нам говорят, our sages teach us that the world requires merit to stand. The world doesn't just exist. It requires merit, righteousness. Дедушка Боня. You carry so much of it. Now, who's supposed to be the one to love people unconditionally, to take more joy in somebody else's accomplishment than in your own? That's a job for all of us. The fact that we're here, the fact that we're standing here, the job of the people that stay behind is to take up, just like the baton runners, or that once he's done, he hands off the baton to someone else. But who amongst us, who can pick up such a baton, such an athlete, such a mind, such a heart? If I did, I helped him fix something, you talk about it endlessly. For years, you'd be remembering how that one time that I helped him fix the car window. That's what he found joy in. How many of us can say that about ourselves? And for us, with accomplishments, with patents and textbooks that he wrote. And what he's talking about is what his children, grandchildren are doing, little things. And he found so much joy in them. The sages teach us that when it comes to Hashem, describing Hashem, every time that Hashem's greatness is mentioned, right next to it, it's mentioned his humility, his lowliness. Why is that? Because when someone is great, it means they occupy a lot of space. Some people, they're so big, they're like, they can do the job of 1,000 people. They occupy a big space. But a humble person has no boundaries. They're just one with the entirety of existence, with the whole world, with all of Klal Yisrael, with all of humanity. And that's the biggest. So Ded Boya was the biggest man. And now that humility is something that is incumbent upon all of us to take on. I never heard him say one mean thing to me. Never. All love, all recognition of goodness, encouragement. This is something that we all have to take away. The world has to have this merit to live, to exist. And that's the reason why we're here, is to encourage one another, strengthen one another, that we can do it. I have a hard time learning in a quiet library. I can't imagine learning in a kitchen table with all of your siblings running around. Dad he was something out of this world in so many ways. But if each one of us could take one little kernel, one little rock, and all those little pebbles can add up to the matseva, to the monolith that he was. It's worth crying. It's worth crying for losing such a person from our ranks, from the Jewish people. Okay. We're going to say one more song from King David to Hashem, and then we're going to have the merit to do one final act of kindness, of helping to give honor to Ded Boya, burying him with his wife, beloved wife, and daughters, fulfilling the mitzvah of making the blessing, of recognizing Hashem as being just, as the one who gives life and takes life. And of course, with the belief, one of the 13 fundamental principles of Jewish faith, the belief that there's going to be a resurrection of the dead. A Jewish person is not simply die, they are nifter, they're exempt. They become exempt from mitzvahs. He no longer has to do mitzvahs. It's so hard for him to put on tefillin and babushka every day. Help him put on tefillin and keep Shabbos and kashrus and all the mitzvahs. Now he gets arrested at Yesodki, arrested all the difficulties. He has to rest until the resurrection. And that's why, unlike by the non-Jews, if they really love someone, they cut their flesh, they tear their flesh, they because they say that he's gone forever, so my flesh will never be the same. We tear our garments because he's not gone forever. His garment, his body is gone from this world, but his soul is going to rest up, to gain strength. Meanwhile, leaving us to do the hard lifting, the hard work. But that wasn't his choice. It was up to him. He never stopped. Michtam leDavid, Shamreini El, Ki chasisi boch, Amart ladonoi, Elohai ata, Tovasi bal alayich, Ligdoshim asher be'eretz heimam, V'adirei kol chefetzi bam, Yirbu atzvosam achar maharu, Bal asich niskeihem midam, Uval esam eshmosam al svosai, Adonai menas chelki v'chosi, Ata tomi gorali, Chavalim naflu li, Banimim af nachalas, Shafra lalai, Avarech es Adonai asher yiatzani, Af leilos yisruni chil yosai, Shivisi Adonai lenegdi somet, Ki yemini balemot, Lachein samach libi v'yagel kvodi, Av besori yishkon lovetach, Ki lo ta'azov nafshi l'shol, Lo sitein chasidecha liros shochas, Todieni orachayim, Sova samchos esponecha, Nimos biyamincha netzach.
сердцем, надо над сердцем. Над сердцем вот так вот. Нет, эту надо. Сердце. Я здесь больше просто дорогу. It's the mark. Yeah. Yeah, the white. It's on the right. It's on the right. Okay, right. It's on the right. Мама, ты Елена на сердцем, а мы на chain. So we'll go around the chain. Ты с правой стороны, а Елена... Вставай, папа. Подожди. Все, благословение. fine. I said, you know what? When you go below, it's okay.
Here, Robert, wait.
Yeah.
Put your hand there.
Cut up. No, cut upwards. Cut upwards. Up here.
All the way through.
Yeah.
Put your finger. You're, Boris, you're on this.
Теперь вы.
Just a little more.
Баба, ты знаешь, как начинается поруха? Да. Даян. Ха-эмет. Теперь рви. 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 Как можно. Да.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know it's warm out here. We're going to put some earth, a little bit more earth. We're going to try to do it all by hand. So if we can have every able-bodied person to help us, and then we'll continue. Check my car for pins.
Баба, держи руками. Rabbi, can I get that knife from my hand? Папа, ты это будешь носить.
So Rabbi said, "Good pain, we do pain." Please come this way. Family and friends, step forward. Let's start from the grave.
He acts like he has hair. He would do anything, even if he didn't think it made any sense for someone who loved him.
Spent a lot of time with him.
I haven't seen him since the summer.
He didn't come back when Ayas had his last baby, right? I think you're just here, just in the art.
My dad went, yeah, because he was there. His grandma also passed away.
I remember him when I was like 13, so he was 30, so he was probably, I think, his 50s, you know, so he looked like a young, he was so energetic always, such an athlete, you know, like always.
I found pictures pictures like from like when I was like 5. He wanted my mom to see pictures of him rollerblading with me. He wanted to show his daughters like he still has it, he's still strong.
He was rollerblading until what age?
No, the winter
You were the first. You were.
Ladies and gentlemen, in just a moment, we'll have concluding prayers in the mourner's cottage. Please keep in mind there's no Shura, it's Chatzot, it's Friday afternoon. So Will this be a moment till the grave is covered, the prayers, Kaddish, and then people can return to their homes, trying to have a restful Shabbat.
Okay, so for the last part of the service, which is the part of consoling the immediate family, babushka and my mother and my aunt. So we're gonna make 2 lines. Sorry, never mind. Right, shortened version. Okay, so that's it. So then, with this we conclude the Levaya, and here. Thank you. Yeah. Here we're gonna do the long one. The Kaddish Aruch. Kaddish Hagadol. Oh, great! You have a translator. Do you have a regular Hebrew one? Because I just have a transliteration. Unless I have. No, we're gonna do. I texted you. We're gonna do a long one. Yeah. Where is this? Okay, they only have the English here. The long one? Thank you. Kadel vis kadesh me rabo. Amen. Alma de uasi lois kadata. Chaya meisai uaska. Chaya alma. Umiv ne karta Yerushalayim. Ulishak le chala begava. Ulemeacher pulchana.
נוחרה מהרה ולעשרה ולחנה דשמיא דעשרה ויבליך קודשה בריחו במחוסה ויקרא וחייכונו וימיכונו וחיידכו בייס ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן. אמן. יהי שמרה בו מבורך לעולם עמי עמיו יתברך וישתבח ויספר ויסומם ויסנשא ויסדור ויסעלה ויסעל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעולם מן כל ברכסה ושירסה ושבחסה ונחמסה דמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלום רב מן שמי וחיים טובים עלינו על כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עשה שלום במרומיו ועשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the service. Family's going to return for just a brief period of Shiva and then begin Shabbat. You may return to your cars.